In Kabbalah, the Sfirot are 10 attributes or emanations through which God reveals Himself and interacts with the world. Each Sphira represents a different aspect of God's nature, and together they form a divine structure or map of creation. You can call the Sphirot the vessel of our soul. The 10 Sphirot are often depicted as a tree known as the tree of life, with each Sphira represented by a different point or branch on the tree. The Sphirot are often arranged in 3 columns, with the right column representing masculine attributes and the left column representing feminine attributes, and the central column representing balance and integration. Now I'll just say what are the 10 Sphira here. Keter. Keter is the crown, is the highest Sphira, representing God's unity and infinity. The next one is Hakma. It means wisdom. It represents creative energy and intuitive insight. The next is Bina, meaning understanding. It represents analytical thought and discernment. The next is Kesed, meaning mercy. It represents love, kindness, and compassion. The next is Gevura, meaning strength. It represents discipline, justice, and judgment. The next is Tiferet, meaning beauty. It represents harmony, balance, and integration. Next is Netzach, meaning victory. It represents ambition, perseverance, and determination. Next is Hod. It means splendor, and it represents humility, receptivity, and surrender. The next is Yesod, means foundation. It represents the bridge between the spiritual and the physical worlds. And the last one is Malchut, means kingdom. It represents the physical world and the material manifestation. The Sphirot are often studied and meditated upon in Kabbalistic practices as a way of gaining insight into the nature of God and the universe, and as a means of spiritual growth and transformation. Keter is the highest of the 10 Sphirot in Kabbalah, often represented as the crown at the top of the tree of life. It represents God's unity and infinity and is often referred to as the crown of crowns. Keter is associated with the highest level of spiritual awareness and consciousness and is often described as the source of all creation. It represents the highest level of divine awareness and the deepest level of understanding and knowledge of God. It is also associated with the concept of nothingness, representing the complete transcendence of physical reality and the ultimate spiritual reality beyond it. As the highest Sphira, Keter is often seen as a point of contact between the divine and the human, and is sometimes described as the spark of divinity within each individual. The study and contemplation of Keter is seen as a means of accessing the divine spark and connecting with the highest levels of spiritual awareness. Keter is often associated with the Hebrew letter Yod, which represents the point of origin and the beginning of creation. It is also associated with the color white and the element of air. In Kabbalistic meditation and contemplation, practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Keter as a means of connecting with the divine and accessing higher levels of spiritual awareness. This may involve visualization, chanting, and other forms of spiritual practices aimed at cultivating a deeper understanding and connection with the divine. Hakma is associated with the power of intuitive understanding, creativity, and insight. Hakma is seen as a masculine attribute, often associated with the right side of the body and with the element of fire. In Kabbalistic thought, Hakma is sometimes contrasted with the attribute of Bina, which represents the analytical and contemplative aspect of God's mind. Together, Hakma and Bina form a complementary pair, representing the balance between intuitive inspiration and analytical discernment. In terms of spiritual practice, the cultivation of Hakma involves developing the ability to access and trust one's intuition and to channel creative inspiration into action. It is seen as a necessary foundation for deeper spiritual understanding and mystical experience. Bina is the third of the 10 sphere in Kabbalah, often represented as the third point on the tree of life. It represents analytical thought and discernment and is sometimes referred to as understanding or the power to comprehend. Bina is associated with the feminine aspect of God and the energy of creation. It represents the ability to analyze and understand the creative energy of Hagma and to give shape and form to creative inspiration. Bina is often seen as a source of wisdom and insight and as the force that governs the laws of nature and the universe. Bina is often associated with the Hebrew letter Bet, which represents the home and the container that holds the creative energy of Hagma. It is also associated with the color black and the element of water. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Bina as a means of accessing higher levels of analytical thought and understanding. Bina is often paired with the sphere of Hagma, representing the balance between creative energy and analytical thought. Together, they represent the balance between masculine and feminine energies and the integration of these energies into the creative process. Kesed is the fourth of the 10 sphere in Kabbalah, often represented as the fourth point on the tree of life. It represents kindness, compassion, and mercy and is sometimes referred to as loving kindness or the power of grace. Kesed is associated with the masculine aspect of God and the energy of giving. It represents unconditional love and compassion of the divine and the generosity and abundance that flow from it. Kesed is often seen as a source of all blessings and good fortune and as the force that sustains and nourishes all of creation. Kesed is often associated with the giving and generosity. It is also associated with the color blue and the element of water. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Kesed as a means of accessing higher levels of compassion, kindness, and generosity. Kesed is often paired with the sphere of Geura, representing the balance between giving and receiving, and the interplay between kindness and discipline. Together, they represent the balance between masculine and feminine energies and the integration of these energies into the divine plan. Geura is the fifth of the 10 sphere in Kabbalah, often represented as the fifth point on the tree of life. It represents strength, severity, and discipline and is sometimes referred to as the might or the power of judgment. Geura is associated with the feminine aspect of God and the energy of withholding. It represents the power of discipline and restraint and the ability to set limits and boundaries. Geura is often seen as the force that balances the generosity and abundance of Kesed and as the power that allows for the manifestation of divine justice. Geura is often associated with the Hebrew letter Dalet, which represents the door and boundary that separates one space from another. It is also associated with the color red and the element of fire. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Geura as a means of accessing higher levels of strength, discipline, and determination. Geura is often paired with the sphere of Kesed, representing the balance between giving and receiving and the interplay between kindness and discipline. Together, they represent the balance between masculine and feminine energies and the integration of these energies into the divine plan. Tiferet is the sixth of the 10 sphere in Kabbalah, often represented as the sixth point on the tree of life. It represents beauty, harmony, and balance and is sometimes referred to as glory or power of compassion. Tiferet is associated with the central pillar of the tree of life, which represents balance and integration. It represents the harmonization of the masculine and feminine energies and the balancing of the forces of Kesed and Geura. Tiferet is often seen as a source of healing and transformation and as the force that brings together all aspects of creation in a state of harmony and balance. Tifra represents connection and integration and is also associated with the color green with the element of air. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Tiferet as a means of accessing higher levels of beauty, harmony, and balance. Tiferet is often considered as the most important sphera on the tree of life as it represents the harmonization and integration of all the other sphera. It is sometimes referred to as the heart of the tree and is seen as the key to unlocking the full potential of the tree of life and accessing higher levels of spiritual enlightenment. Netzach is the seventh of the 10 sphera in Kabbalah, often represented as the seventh point on the tree of life. It represents endurance, victory, and ambition, and is sometimes referred to as the eternity or the power of overcoming. Netzach is associated with the energy of the masculine and represents the power of perseverance and the ability to overcome obstacles. It is often seen as the force that drives us forward in pursuit of our goals and ambitions, and the power that allows us to triumph over challenges and adversity. Netzach also represents righteousness and the pursuit of excellence. It is also associated with the color green and the element of fire. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Netzach as a means of accessing higher levels of endurance, victory, and ambition. Netzach is often paired with the sphera of Hod, representing the balance between ambition and humility and the interplay between power of victory and the power of surrender. Together they represent the balance between the masculine and feminine energies and the integration of these energies into the divine plan. Hod is the 8th of the 10 sphera in Kabbalah and it represents humility, receptivity, and surrender, and is sometimes referred to as splendor or the power of submission. Hod is associated with the energy of the feminine and represents the power of surrender and the ability to receive guidance and inspiration from the divine. It is often seen as the force that helps us to overcome the ego and align ourselves with the will of the divine, and as the power that allows us to access higher levels of wisdom and insight. Hod is often associated with the Hebrew letter Yod, which represents a spark of divinity within each of us. It is also associated with the color orange and the element of water. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Hod as a means of accessing higher levels of humility, receptivity, and surrender. Hod is often paired with the sphera of Netzach, representing the balance between ambition and humility and the interplay between the power of victory and the power of surrender. Yesod is the 9th of the 10 sphera in Kabbalah, often represented as the 9th point on the tree of life. Yesod represents foundation, stability, and the bridge between the spiritual and physical worlds. Yesod is associated with the energy of the subconscious and represents the power of intuition and the ability to access hidden knowledge and wisdom. It is often seen as the force that connects us to the divine and provides a bridge between our inner and outer worlds. Yesod represents learning and the pursuit of knowledge. It is also associated with the color purple and the element of air. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Yesod as a means of accessing the higher levels of intuition, inner wisdom, and spiritual connection. Yesod is often seen as the foundation upon which the other spheroids rest, providing stability and support for the spiritual journey. It is also seen as the gateway to the spiritual realms, providing a pathway for us to connect with the higher levels of consciousness and access deeper levels of understanding and insight. Malkuth is the 10th and final sphera in Kabbalah, often represented at the bottom point of the tree of life. It represents manifestation, materialization, and the physical world. Malkuth is associated with the energy of the earth and represents the power of grounding and embodiment. It is often seen as a force that allows us to bring our spiritual insights and realizations into the physical world and to manifest our deepest desires and aspirations. Malkuth represents the oneness of the divine and the universe. It is also associated with the color black and the element of earth. Practitioners may focus on the energy and attributes associated with Malkuth as a means of accessing higher levels of grounding, embodiment, and materialization. Malkuth is often seen as the culmination of the spiritual journey, representing the final stage of the process of spiritual transformation and realization. It is also seen as the point of connection between the divine and the physical world, providing a bridge between the spiritual and material realms and allowing us to experience the fullness of life in all its dimensions. So I end this class here. Anybody who wants to learn more about Kabbalah, please do contact me. My WhatsApp number is given on the screen. You can send me a message for a detailed class. Now our upcoming class based on Kabbalah is the Kabbalah Angels, in which I will be showing 25 angels, their characteristics, their powers, their seals, and the way to invoke them. So those who want to join the Kabbalah Angels also can contact me. We start on the 24th or 25th of April, and it will be a Zoom class with recordings provided for 3 months, and also you will get a PDF with the seals and the properties, some of the properties mentioned. We are also offering a certification for the course, but there are conditions which you need to follow. If you are interested, you can contact me personally on my WhatsApp to know what are the conditions for the certification. Thank you so much.